Welcome back to the broadcast. I'm so excited, Dawn, that you're going to be talking to Zelda La Grange, who was Nelson Mandela's personal assistant for like so many years.
Yeah, I can't wait to chat with her. She'll be coming up here in a second. Actually, I think she's ready. Well, last week we marked what would have been Nelson Mandela's 96th birthday. His life still carries with it such impact and meaning, and that's true for the stories you'll find inside this new book about his life, Good Morning, Mr. Mandela. It's written by Zelda La Grange, who was one of Mandela's most trusted aides, and she joins us live now. Good morning, Zelda.
Hi, Dawn. Nice speaking to you. Thank you.
Wonderful to speak with you, too. Now, I know there's a very interesting story about how you came to be Nelson Mandela's assistant and why it's so significant. Can you tell us about that?
Well, growing up in the apartheid South Africa, you know, it was very unlikely that someone like me could become Nelson Mandela's personal assistant. I applied for a job in his office shortly after his election in 1994, or after his inauguration, and a relationship started from there. I was a very junior official in his office, and in 1999 he handpicked me to serve him beyond retirement, and I ended up working for him for 19 years. The story of my new book is one of hope and love and metamorphosis. It's really a book of change, how Nelson Mandela impacted my life and that of many people in my country.
And I know you mentioned that you were actually taught growing up to fear Nelson Mandela, and at the end, by the time the end of his life rolled around, you were actually considered an honorary granddaughter. So tell me a little bit about how Nelson Mandela changed your life, and I can imagine in many, many ways you changed his.
Yes, that's exactly it. That signifies the change, you know, coming from apartheid South Africa and me being a very conservative person in my thinking, supporting apartheid as I grew up, to really mourning for him when he passed away last year. That is the scope of change. It's not only me, you know, many people in South Africa were affected by him. As you know, his focus was reconciliation and unity in South Africa, but there's so many lessons to be learned from him, and that I at the end felt obliged to share the person that I knew and the lessons that I've learned from him in this new book.
Now, Zelda, tell me, you know, I'm going to get a little intimate here. What were some of the last moments you shared with him? What was that like?
Well, in July last year, the 11th of July was the last time I saw him. And I went to the hospital to see him, and Mrs. Michelle, his wife, allowed me some time with him. And it was a time where he could still respond. And when he heard my voice and I said to him, "Oh, Kulu, it's Zaldina, I'm here to see you," his eyes opened and he focused on me, and he had this broad, infectious smile. And that is definitely my best and my last memory of him, and I hope and I think it will remain with me for the rest of my life.
Oh, goodness. Well, I just got chills. That's such an amazing story. What about a favorite memory you have of him prior to that time? I mean, you spent a couple decades with him. Anything that was really memorable during that time?
His sense of humor, you know, it was so striking. There was something every day that made him laugh or that he could crack a joke about. I think that's a side of him that I share in the book that people may not know. I'm specifically thinking because you mentioned Mandela Day or his birthday last week. You know, I've got this initiative called Bikers for Mandela Day. We travel to rural communities, and when I said to him that I traveled on my motorbike, he asked me, "But why do you have a motorbike? Why don't you have a car?" So, you know, that was the character. He could always think of something to tease you and to joke about. And that is some of my fondest memories.
That's awesome. And for someone who spent so much time focusing on equality, what was it like for him when we elected Barack Obama here in the United States as the first African-American president? Any memories about that?
Well, I don't think any of us actually believed or expected to see the first black president in America in our lifetime. He was obviously very, very happy, and having met President Obama a few years before when he was still senator, he had a very good impression and a very good idea of what to expect of the man, and he was really fond of him, even though their interaction was short and, you know, they didn't have a lot of contact, but the few times they had contact, Mr. Mandela always admired President Obama.
Well, so many wonderful stories you have in this book, allowing us an intimate view into his life. Thank you so much for sharing with us this morning.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, you can pick up a copy of Good Morning, Mr. Mandela wherever you buy your favorite books. All right, coming up next, our good friend Dee Dee McGuire is back in the broadcast studio to chat about a new charity tournament she's hosting this weekend. Stick around.